And you can't even do unconditional love unless you have adversity, because it's easy to love the people that love us. So it's like I attracted all this terrible stuff, and that's what I needed to do the unconditional love. So I'm not a victim anymore. And my story of the sadness and stuff is not the story that I tell anymore. I'm attracting all kinds of good things now because I don't tell that story anymore. I think we become addicted to the sadness and the story. And it just is so, it's just like what we're made out of.
You are now listening to the highlight reel builder for authors, the Going North podcast. I'm your host, best-selling author, and Maxwell Leadership Certified Trainer, DomBrightmon. And you're going to be getting some tips and techniques to advance yourself coming up next. Today's episode is sponsored by the Going North Podcast.com shop. Head over to that wonderful website to pick up some merchandise. We got shirts, hoodies, mugs, t-shirts, flags, notebooks, journals, just about almost everything under the sun, even stickers and buttons indeed for your lanyards and for your decorations as well. And we got multiple designs, advance others to advance yourself. We got the GoingNorthPodcast.com logo as well as outread your competition to outlead your competition. And we even got bags too, so check out the wonderful podcast merch shop and be on the lookout for sales. They got wonderful 35% off sales spread out throughout every single month, so that way you can save even more money, so you can get more bang for your buck, so you can bang out your goals through the inspiration you're going to get today on this podcast. Check it out like a library book, my friends. And today on the highlight reel builder for authors, known as the Going North podcast, we got another super special, awesome human for you today, courtesy of two places. Funny enough, podmatch.com, where you know the host loves that wonderful site, as well as my good buddy, Pastor Bob Thibodeau. That's right, indeed. Host of the Kingdom Crossroads podcast. Indeed, that's right, indeed. The preacher with the booming voice who loves the Bible and has a bunch of books published of his own too. And today's guest is a fellow child of the King too, as well as a fellow published author as well indeed. And sadly enough, she actually shares a bit of commonality with the host of being a caregiver for a loved one who sadly passed away indeed. So let's give it up for the wonderful KDI herself, Kathleen Donnelly Israel. How you doing today, Kathleen?
I'm so happy to be here with you.
That's right, indeed. The happiness is mutual. It's growing like a tree. That's right, indeed. Well, my goodness. As you know, introductions aren't allowed to be 97.4 days long. I probably only covered maybe point one of which you actually do. So mind filling in listeners of your journey of how you got to where you are today since your first time on the podcast?
Well, while my husband was ill, he was ill for quite a while and I had to be home. And so I went online and I listened to all these enlightened thought leaders, and because I have post-traumatic stress disorder from my childhood. So I was trying to fix myself like usual. And so I just listened and I did the work. They would have these programs, and I would buy the program and do the work. And then God would send me a new teacher and I would buy their program and do their work. And I like over the years, like God was raising my vibration. And so after, Ron was sick for like 17 years, but he was totally disabled for the last 8 years of his life. And so that's all my studying was for like 8 years. And I felt like I knew some stuff after that. And I developed some philosophies of my own. And so I wanted to write a book about the philosophies, and I was reluctant to be teachy. And so I went on the Camino Santiago, and Compostela in Spain, 500 miles across northern Spain. And so I just remembered that I had told all those things to the people on the Camino. So I thought, well, I'll write my book about walking the Camino and telling people those things. So that's how I got around being teachy. But I'm like concerned about my poor readers, because I think maybe they can't find the teachings because the story is so good. Anyway, it's in the story.
Hey, ain't nothing wrong with it being in a story. It's right indeed. You can't just have a random cake filling with no filling. That's what a story is. You got to have the filling in there. It's like the teaching lessons are in there. They're deep. That's right indeed. You got to take a bite. That's right indeed. That's right indeed.
That's
Sometimes the
right.
whole.
That's right. It's my adventures plus talking to people.
That's right indeed. That's right indeed. If I'm not mistaken, what was it? 500 miles? Are you talking to people?
Yeah, yeah. I started in Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port in France, and I walked all the way to Santiago, Spain, which is 500 miles. Well, 489 miles. 400 anyway, it's almost 500 miles. So they say 500 miles. Anyway, I'm sure I walked around extra a little bit.
I hear you. I hear you indeed. So, was it just dealing with the grief of losing your loving husband that led to the decision to walk the Camino, or what inspired you to make that decision?
Oh yeah. So around 2013, I was taking care of Ron, and my friend Judy went and did the Camino Santiago de Compostela. And even though she was like walking, she got blisters and she was walking with bloody feet. And I just recognized she was doing something really special for herself. And I thought to myself, well, when Ron's done with his disease, I'm going to walk the Camino too. So, so that's what I did after he died. I died in 2018, August, and by January, I was done with all the paperwork. It's a lot of paperwork when people die. So I thought, well, if I'm going to go, I better get ready. So I started reading all kinds of books, and I went to a lecture at the library about packing light for the Camino, and just like YouTube's, that's how you learn stuff nowadays, on YouTube. And so I love REI because I got my pack there, and I had to take it back like 4 times before I found the right pack. And they're fine with that. If you got a pack you don't like, you just bring it back. So anyway, I found a great pack, and in March, the end of March, I went to Paris, and I stayed there for a week so I wouldn't have jet lag when I started. And that was fun. I was a tourist in Paris. And then I went over to, took a plane to Biarritz, France. And then I took a cab to Bayonne. And then from Bayonne, I took a train to Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port, and I was ready to go.
Ah, there you go.
It was really great in Saint-Jean. I stayed at the Bellari, and oh my gosh, they know how to treat pilgrims. That's what I was. I was a pilgrim. It's a pilgrimage. And at dinner, they sat us around, and the guy who owned the place said, okay, so he wanted us to give a name to our pilgrimage. So my pilgrimage, I named it Deeper Than I Know, because after my husband died, I went to a spiritualist church. I'm a Catholic, but anyway, I went to the spiritualist church because they actually can talk to the dead. So this lady well, first of all, they told me, wow, your husband must have been a good man. He already crossed over. So that made me feel good. And then the lady gave me a reading, and she, like, my friend recorded the reading, so I have it still in my phone. And she said that I was thinking about taking a trip, and it was really in my spirit that I was taking the trip, and deep in my bones, and so deep, it's deep in the dirt, the earth. And then when I told her I was going on the Camino, she said, "Oh, I guess I know what I was talking about then." She didn't know what she was talking about. So that's why I called it Deeper Than I Know, the pilgrimage.
Ah, there you go. That's right indeed. So I guess some shovel swag, I'm guessing. That's right indeed. Deeper than you know. That's right
Mm-hmm.
indeed. She was going
Mm-hmm.
extra deep
Extra deep,
indeed.
yeah. So I had a lot of really fun adventures over there. I like to stay in a monastery. So I stayed in this monastery one night and they had dinner. And so I went down into it was like a cafeteria. You line up and get your tray and stuff like that. And then I was supposed to like go sit somewhere and I really didn't know where to sit. So I just went over and sat down and this guy was kind of catty corner to me sitting, and he had there was a lady next to him. Anyway, they're just, on the Camino, you just meet people and then you become friends. So he asked me why I was on the Camino. And I said, well, my husband, I took care of my husband for 17 years. And when he died, I decided to walk the Camino. And he said, wow, that's amazing. 17 years. I said, he's amazed that I took care of him all that time. And I said, well, gee, when we got married, I was 20 years old. And I just knew that I told myself the night before we got married, I said, you know what, Kathleen, your life is not going to be your life anymore. It's going to be your life with Ron now. So your life, it's, so big change, right? And he was amazed. And so I said, so why did you go on the Camino? And he said, oh, I'm in the military and I had a couple of extra weeks and I decided to come and do the Camino. He was going home the next day. And I said, wow, that's amazing. And then the lady next to him just kind of put her elbow in his ribs and said, tell her the rest. And and then he and then he said, well, he had married this woman and they had a child, and he just realized that he got married too young. And so he left her. And I guess me talking about how committed I was to our marriage at age 20, right? And he was thinking, oh my God, kind of sheepish there. And so the lady next to him, she smiled like, okay, good, you told her. And so I told him about Ho'oponopono. Did you ever hear of that?
Oh yeah, through Joe Vitale.
Yes, Joe Vitale. I know. Yes, Joe Vitale. Okay. Um, so anyway, I told him about the Ho'oponopono, which is a Hawaiian healing technique for the family. And so I told him kind of like my brand of it. And it's like, I love you, which is I love you. I love God. God loves me. God loves the other person. The other person loves God. If you can say it, I love the other person. If you can't, you shouldn't say it. I love you. I'm sorry. And it's like, I'm sorry that this situation exists between us. And then please forgive me for what's going on in me that caused me to attract this. So something happened, pushed my buttons, and I attracted it. And then thank you for showing me this so I could heal. And then the big I love you. I love God. God loves me. God loves the other person. The other person loves God. Maybe by then you can say I love the other person. But anyway, I was telling him that, this, what it does, it's like magic. It like loosens our binds to people that we have that causes us to have adversity with them. So he obviously had adversity with his wife. And if he practiced this, it would loosen that adversity that he has with his wife, and perhaps he could live with her. And also I told her, that child of yours, if your wife goes out and finds herself another man that will love her, that other man is not going to love your child as much as you do. And he said, that's very true. Anyway, I wrote the Ho'oponopono down for him. so he can use it. And that lady, she took a picture of it so she could have it too. And then the next morning, when we were leaving, I saw him and I thought I would tell him a little bit more about the Ho'oponopono. And he said, "No, stop. You already changed my life. This is enough. Thank you very much." And he didn't want to hear anymore because I think it was like a lot, right?
Beautiful indeed. Definitely beautiful indeed. Get to change lives while you travel on the wonderful Camino. That's right, indeed. Sharing some good old gems of wisdom. Indeed. So my goodness, my goodness. So where did you journal along the way? Since it was like what, a month, right? Or was it close to 40 days it took you?
Actually, I was on the trail for 66 days. But I'm old. I was like 69 years old when I started, and I had my 70th birthday on the Camino. So yeah, it was, I walk slow because I used to walk really fast. People couldn't catch up with me, but I don't walk. Well, I got a bum foot. So I guess that's part of the problem. Anyway, I don't walk fast. And also, I was on a holy pilgrimage, and I would get into town on Sunday and I would flop on my bed and go to sleep because I was so tired. And then I would wake up and I'd miss mass. So I thought, gee, I'm on a holy pilgrimage and I'm not even going to church on Sunday. So I decided to take Saturday night, every Saturday night and Sunday night, I stayed in the same place so that I could go to church in the morning. So that was good. And then I took Holy Week off too. I became a church lady in a town on Holy Week, and that was lovely for me.
Was there
Yeah.
some straying away of the faith at one point for you in the lifetime, I guess? And the Camino brought you back. Is that what I'm hearing?
Oh, well, no, I mean, I am fully loving my faith. And I was yeah, just tired. That's all. So I just needed to take an extra day off to get to church. That's all.
There you go. That's right. Indeed. That's right. Indeed. So
Hmm.
my goodness. So being able to do those 60 days, and I guess you took the longest path too, as well, right? So wow.
Yeah, yeah, I think it is well, no, you know what? There's another one, and it starts up inside of France, way up north in France. It's called Les Puy, Pue, Pu, yeah, Pue, Les Puy or something like that, however they say it. And I would like to do that someday, but I don't know. It's really long. So anyway, I walked uh like the year before last, I walked the from Lisbon to Santiago up through Portugal, and then I walked to what is it, Finisterre, the end of the earth. So the first time I went, I wanted to go to Finisterre, but I was sick. I got sick while I was walking, and so I couldn't keep going. I had to stop. But the second time I didn't get as sick. I think I got sick because I was, kind of my health was down from taking care of my husband. So you said you were a caregiver too? What did you do? Who did you care for?
Oh yeah, that was my dad. He had the darn Alzheimer's for a good 6.5 years and turned into that old evil dementia. Then he had a bad fall day after Christmas, cracked 4 of his ribs and his lung collapsed. And
Oh,
yeah, definitely a sad ending. He never really recovered from that. He passed away March 2017, that year after that fall. He never truly
oh,
recovered from that. Yeah, definitely got to know my dad a little bit more in those 6 years than the other at the time, I guess.
oh,
Those other
wow.
19.
That's love. That's love. Hmm. Thank you for doing that.
Oh yeah, got to return the favor. That's right, indeed. That's right.
Mhm.
Especially for the parents, One I was, living rent free inside of, and the other one, well, they helped make it happen.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Lovely.
My goodness. So, if documenting your journey on the Camino, what was the process like? Because I'm pretty sure there probably some stories you probably didn't put in the book or probably didn't make it into the books. That way, you have a nice, polished package.
Yeah, okay, so when I was on the Camino, I was like tired because it was it was a lot of work. And so I did not journal, but I asked my friends at home to pray for me, and then so I would go online on Facebook and just send them pictures and tell them what I was doing. And so I had that when I got home. I had that. And then my daughter made this WhatsApp for me. It was called Mom's Walkabout Check-in. And so I told them the gory details. Uh, I just told my friends how, I didn't tell them the gory details of my illnesses and stuff. So between the WhatsApp and the Facebook page and also my pictures, and also you get a pilgrim passport when you're walking the Camino. You have a you have to take your passport with you, right? To prove where you came from. And then you got a pilgrim passport. And like every night, every day when you stay somewhere, you check in, they write down who you are for the government, and then they stamp your pilgrim passport. So I had all my stamps for my pilgrim passport to tell me where I was every day. And then, when I saw these different clues, it brought forward stories that I remembered about being on the Camino. And one really cool thing was, well, it wasn't so cool. I mean, when I started the Camino, it was snowing on the Pyrenees. The first thing you're supposed to do is walk over the Pyrenees. And I didn't get to do that. I had to walk around. But so the first night, after I left San Jean, I got to Val Carlos, and so all the people at Val Carlos couldn't walk over the Pyrenees. It was against the law. They didn't want to try and have to rescue anybody. And so we were all there, and it was just a lovely mix of people. And somebody made a WhatsApp, and so we all got to keep track of each other all the time we were on the Camino, and we still like send like happy Easter messages and take a picture of our Christmas tree and send it to each other. So that's really cool. So I walked in to they call them albergues. That's what you stay in, the albergue. And I walked in, and this guy from Germany said, "Oh, I have a new friend here, and he's so sad. He's just really sad." So I sat down next to him and I said, "What are you sad about?" And he said that 3 of his friends had died in rapid succession. And he couldn't even do his life anymore. And that's why somebody told he should go walk the Camino. And so I said, "Well, gee, I know what you mean. My husband died in August and my mother died in December. And so I think we have something in common." And he just, all of a sudden, he was just like, "Oh, I'm so sorry that this happened to you. And we just had something in common." And it's so funny because he's from LA and I'm in San Diego. So we're not, we, we went all the way to, Spain to meet each other. But anyway, he's a pretty cool guy.
Ah.
And
Oh, no,
say
go
it.
ahead. Sound like you had something else to add.
I know. I don't know what. So anyway, it was really great being there with all those people in that first night. And then, of course, I was there longer than anybody. Everybody else was home by the time I got done. And so they were telling me, "Oh, make sure you stay an extra night in Burgos because there's a cathedral there that you need to go check out and stuff." And so it was nice to have that, with them.
Beautiful days. Do you keep in contact with any of the folks you met on your wonderful pilgrimage?
Yeah, on the WhatsApp. The that's about it. I met a lot of people and I really liked them. But the WhatsApp is just like an avenue to be able to contact each other. There was a lady from England, and she was concerned about me because I was going to take the Eurostar back to France. I went over to Scotland. I had some business to do over in Scotland. I actually took I'm an artist, and so I wanted to take a class on how to paint icons, and there was a class in Edinburgh. So I went there, and oh my gosh, when my husband was still alive, we went to Scotland together. He has some Scottish ancestry, and so do I. So we went to Aviemore. We have this timeshare, and like Aviemore had the time, we could trade it in and go to Aviemore. So we went to Aviemore. And it was so funny because I was looking at Rick Steves. I always like look at Rick Steves stuff about traveling. And he said, don't bother going to Aviemore. It's really, really commercialized. And I was like, oh my, that's where we were going. But anyway, my husband, he had Parkinson's disease. So every once in a while, he couldn't even move. And it was kind of dangerous for us to go take a walk, but we did anyway. We took a walk out in the forest, and we came to a lake. Anyway, we traveling through the forest. I am always looking for heart-shaped rocks. So I always find heart-shaped rocks. And I found this really great heart-shaped rock. It was like totally a heart. And I put it in my pocket. And then when we got to this Lake Eileen, I heard this voice in my consciousness, in my brains or whatever. And it said, throw the rock in the lake. And I don't know. I kind of like maybe was feeling sorry for myself, or maybe like I just needed something special in my life. And so I said, no, I'm not going to throw it in the lake now. I really need it, but I'll be back. And I'll throw it in the lake later. So when I was done with school in Edinburgh, I took a train to Aviemore, and then I walked out to the lake, and actually I had two rocks, and they were both really perfect. And I found one in the US, and I couldn't remember which one it was that was the one I found. So actually I threw two heart rock. Okay, so I was walking out there, and I in my mind, I was saying to whoever it was that said I should throw the rock in the lake, I was like, I'm back. Do you remember me? And then all of a sudden the wind was blowing really hard. And so I walked to the lake. And then I stood by the lake right by where we were sitting when I heard that voice in my head. And I just took the two rocks and I threw them in the lake. And then the wind went down. And so I knew they knew I was there, whoever they are. The leprechauns are, I don't know what they got. I don't know what they got in Scotland. I think the leprechauns are in Ireland, right?
Oh, yes, with the Blarney Stone, I believe.
Yeah. So I don't know who it was in Scotland that was whispering in my ear, but anyway, whatever it is.
I hear you indeed. So my goodness, you've been on quite a few interviews talking about the wonderful stuff that you got out in wonderful planet Earth. Is there a question that you wish folks would ask you more often when you're being interviewed?
Well, I have this big thing in my heart and in my mind, and it's about forgiveness. And because I had that rough childhood I was talking about, and so it was hard for me to forgive. I used to forgive like an alcoholic gives up liquor. It was like one day at a time. I would be like, okay, I forgive you. And then the next day I would wake up and I would hate him again. And so I tried and tried to forgive, and it was so hard. And the thing is that I was living my sad story from my childhood. My story was important to me. Like, I didn't want to forget it because it was true, I guess. And it was so very sad. And so I just always kept on kept my pain from from my victimhood. And when I realized, I think that okay, so I think that before I came in to be a human, I was out in the universe with God, and I had a low vibration. I was a low vibrational spirit, and I wanted to raise my vibration. And I heard that if you go into the earth and be a human, you can raise your vibration by doing unconditional love. So even though I knew I was going to attract really awful stuff in my life, I decided to go in anyway and to raise my vibration. So I was born in, to this family, my dad was a alcoholic, rageaholic, child molester, for God's sakes. And my mother wasn't paying attention because that was a hard thing to live with, right? So I had some pain from my childhood. When I realized that my story that I was telling was perpetuating my sadness, like I came in to raise my vibration. So I attracted all this stuff from all these people that were doing the wrong thing. And so when I realized that, I was able to take responsibility for attracting all that, even though it's not a shame thing. I'm not ashamed. What I see myself as is a valiant spirit that was willing to come in here, even knowing that I would attract bad things, just to raise my vibration. And the way you raise your vibration, one thing is praising God, praising each other, raise your vibration. The other thing is forgiveness. But the thing is that I don't even need to forgive anybody because it's like I attracted it all. So it's so great not to be a victim. And the other way you raise your vibration is with unconditional love. And you can't even do unconditional love unless you have adversity, because it's easy to love the people that love us. So it's like I attracted all this terrible stuff, and that's what I needed to do the unconditional love. So yay, thank you. Thank you for, presenting this situation that caused me to need to do unconditional love, because that's a very high vibration. So I'm not a victim anymore. And my story of the sadness and stuff is not the story that I tell anymore. I'm attracting all kinds of good things now because I don't tell that story anymore. I think we become addicted to the sadness and the story. And it just is so, it's just like what we're made out of. But it's only evidence of my low vibration that I had before. The sad story is the evidence of the low vibration, because I wouldn't have attracted that stuff if I hadn't had a low vibration. And actually, I wouldn't have come in if I didn't have that low vibration, because I wanted to raise my vibration. So here I am, this old lady. I finally figured it out. Yay. So thank you, God.
Sweet. That's not talking about indeed putting the weed on the vibration at high vibration indeed. You love to see it. You love to feel it. You love to be it. That's right indeed, especially with all the black and yellow stripes to be it indeed. That's right indeed, definitely indeed. That's right indeed. So my goodness, so with all of that and finally being able to shed that story, and sounds like it's a lot of pain you went through, not just in the caring of your husband. Sounds like a lot of pain before then that you had to recover and heal from.
Yeah, I attracted it. And it didn't feel good to be a victim. It felt terrible. But now I don't feel that way anymore. I don't feel like a victim. I understand now that I had to have that so I could do unconditional love. Mm-hmm.
There you
Yeah.
go. So it empowers you to have that unconditional love for others, in addition to the adversity that you had to go through to get it.
Yeah, you know what? One of my teachers, I was telling you that I listened with all these teachers, and one of them said to just like go through your body and love every cell in your body. You can start with your big toe and love all the cells in your big toe, and then go to your toenail and love all the cells in your toenail, and then the web between your toes, and you just like I used to not be able to sleep. And so I thought, well, shoot, I could just love myself while I'm laying here, not being able to sleep. So that's what I would do. And I would just sit there and love every cell in my body. But you know what happened? Oh my gosh. The first time I did that, the next day, I was driving away from my house up to El Cajon Boulevard in San Diego, where I live, is like, there's a parade of people that are really, they have different situations in their life, I guess I would say, really disheveled people and stuff. And so I was just sitting there at the light waiting, and this guy walked by, and he had these really rough clothes on, just really dirty and stuff. And I was just looking at him, and I was feeling in my heart that I loved him so much. And it just delighted me that I loved this guy that was walking across the street. And I thought, oh my gosh, when you love yourself totally, like every cell of your body, you're loved up so much that you just can't help but love other people. It was like so evident to me that it was just this cause and effect thing about the loving myself thing, that I just couldn't, I was just so in love with this guy walking across the street.
There you go. There you go. A day walking across the streets, you love to see it. You love to see things you like. And folks like food as well. So if your wonderful book, Wisdom on the Camino, if that book were a food, what would it be and why?
Oh my gosh, the food, well, um I I think it would be ice cream because it's so fun. I was talking to my cousin, my husband's cousin, actually. I read the book to her before I published it. And I said to her, Linda, do you think anybody's going to listen to this? And she said, Kathy, I have this big smile on my face while you're reading to me. So yes, people are going to want to read it. So I think it's ice cream. Mm-hmm.
Did you have ice cream at all during the trip? Or should I say the
Yeah.
pilgrimage?
Yes, I mean, when you go in, you're walking all day long, and there you are, you get to a bar. The bar's over there. It's a place to go to the bathroom and get a cup of coffee, right? But they've got this big sign out front of all the ice creams that they've got. So you just go in and pick out an ice cream, and I would eat an ice cream in the afternoon. Ice cream on a stick or a cone. Yeah. You know what? When I have been on a diet for a long time, and before my husband died, I actually lost 60 pounds. And well, I was taking care of him because I was really trying hard. And my girlfriend remembered that I was doing that. And so at my husband's funeral, we had all this food that he loved to eat, and we had all the stuff to make these wonderful, sundaes and stuff, whipped cream, hot fudge, all the stuff. And my friend brought me a salad to my husband's funeral. And there I was eating a salad, and everybody else could have all that good food. And so it just, I mean, I should have just said, forget you, I'm having ice cream, but I didn't. And so after that, it was just so painful that I got ice cream every chance I could get after that. So, and I could feel it. Every time I bought myself an ice cream, I could feel that pain of not eating ice cream at my husband's funeral. Oh, brother.
Man, man, oh man. I guess that gives a new meaning to ice cream. You scream, we all scream for ice cream.
Yeah, man, I was screaming, but I was eating salad. Oh my gosh.
I'm guessing it was a Caesar because she's like, nope, I'm gonna cease this facade of not eating what I want to enjoy. Give me this ice cream, dang gummit. That's right.
I know, I know. Well, I need him to die again so I can go eat ice cream at his funeral. That I could heal from that, right? Well, I obviously attracted it.
Ah, ah, that's right. About the ice cream, that is. That's right, indeed. All the scoops, indeed. A scoop full of goodness. Well, and speaking of a scoop full of goodness, like this interview, we're coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive. And that is, if you know, wake up tomorrow and you're a 25 again, but you're still in 2023, what advice would you give to yourself?
Don't listen to your mother. I wanted to be a fashion designer. My mother told me that not very many people get to be fashion designers. So maybe I better think of something else. So I became a commercial artist, a graphic designer, but it was terrible because I'm not a perfect person. And if it's not perfect, you better not print it, right? So it was awful for me. I think I would have been a bit, I should have done fashion design, but oh well. Don't listen to your mother.
Ouch. That's right. Indeed. That's right, indeed. Well, hey, that's right, indeed. Hey, you still got some time on Earth. Maybe you should pursue some of it just for the heck of it.
Yeah. I've been taking sewing classes here in San Diego. It's great. We've got a bunch of fashion schools in San Diego, and the teachers moonlight over at the adult education. It's like free, and we get to learn from these wonderful fashion people. So I've been studying. But right now I'm writing books. Oh my gosh. I'm writing the book about Portugal now. So my book is Wisdom on the Camino, a spiritual journey sharing forgiveness and possibilities to inspire the rest of your life. And I wanted to say that I have a gift for my readers. Is that all right if I say that?
Oh, go on ahead. We love gifts.
Yeah, so right across from the table of contents, there's a page that says read this first, and it tells you how you can see the pictures that I took on the Camino, because all my friends said, gee, you need to put these pictures in the book. And I'm like, yeah, and then the book will be $50 and nobody will buy it. So anyway, you can go. Yeah, I'm sorry you have to double opt in. You have to opt in to see the pictures. And I made a website and with galleries and portfolios of all the pictures. And so when you read chapter 1, you can just go to the pictures of chapter 1, and you can see the pictures and read the book. And so I just wanted to tell everybody, whether you want to read my book or not, maybe you know somebody who would like to walk the Camino, or maybe somebody who never will, but they like a spiritual journey, and then you could get it as a gift for them.
Ah, beautiful indeed. So, my goodness, that's a good gift for those to cop indeed. Let's say you got a book about Portugal. So, when should we expect that book coming out?
You know what? I'm writing that book, and it's so difficult. I loved writing the first book. It was like such a joy. But you know what? I think God's calling me to write the book about my teachings without the story. And so I'm just on the fence right here of jumping off, continuing writing this Portugal book and just writing about my teachings. I don't know. That's what I'm like. I just started working on it today because I was having such a hard time writing about the Portugal trip. When I wrote about the first book, I wrote down my teachings and then I wrote the stories around each teaching, like each person, and I would just write the teaching down and okay, so who did I say that to? And then I wrote that story. So now I'm just trying to write the story of walking in Portugal, and it's really it's really hard. I don't know. I had really a lot of fun, but I didn't get to those people yet. And maybe I was thinking maybe I should just jump ahead and stop writing about the first part. Anyway, I'm almost done with the first part, but anyway, it's not as fun as the first book to write. But I suppose I'll do it, but I might just veer off and write about the teachings first.
Hey, it's all good. I know your pain. Same thing happened to me. First book, got through it less than a year, beat my deadline. Second book, thought I was going to be done in 2 years. Nope, took a good 2.5 years. So
Oh
you'll be
my.
surprised. It'll probably be a totally different book than what you expect. And you might even get better results from it. So you never know. You never
Yeah.
know, indeed. So for those who need to join your wonderful email list and follow your journey, so that way when that book launches, they'll be the first folks to know and buy some copies of your book while they're waiting. What's the best way for folks to do so?
Well, I have this website. It's wisdomonthecamino.com. And so you can go there and you can actually, there's a link to buying the book, but you can also go to Amazon and do Wisdom on the Camino and you'll see it. So you just have to double opt in to see the pictures. And I hope you enjoy the book. Don't worry about it. If you can go get the digital copy, be sure you just read it or just page through or something, because I get paid per page. When somebody gets the digital copy, they pay you a royalty on each page that people read. But anyway, the cover is really cool. This is the cover. This guy made this cover. It's so great. It's got me coming and going on the front of the book.
Oh, okay, indeed. So wait a second. A royalty per page read. Are you talking about the KDP?
Yeah, it's really, they hardly give you anything. It's amazing, but like I'll have like 3,000 pages read this month and maybe I'll get less than $30, but I think they don't pay us enough. But anyway, I guess you don't pay very much to get to use KDP, right?
Oh, okay, all right. News to me. Like, hey, $30 ain't a lot, but hey, I could buy a couple Reese's cake, Reese's pieces. You can buy some peanut butter cups with that money.
That sounds really good. I'm gonna go do that. Maybe some peanut butter cup ice cream.
There we go. I like the way you think. We're brainstorming here. All right. Here we go. It's a good deal indeed. So you heard that right, folks. Cop some copies of Kathleen's marvelous book. Be on the lookout for her follow-up book, if not books, to get all that teachings and leave an apple on her virtual desk. That way she can bite into it. That's right, indeed. The good news is it won't be an apple of Eden. So because we already went through that experiment.
Oh my God.
And we already know what happened now. Well, before we hop in another rabbit hole where we talk about the kangaroo having a penguin in his pouch, any parting words before we close up shop?
Yeah. Let's see. I have this really great prayer that really works some miracles. And the prayer is, dear God, please make everything turn out okay. And then you let God make everything turn out okay. And it's a miracle. Every time I say that, it's a miracle.
Thanks a bunch for investing your time by listening to this wonderful podcast today. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you really did, do me a solid and leave a review or share this episode with at least 3 people that you think would get some value out of today's content. Advance others to advance yourself.